This season on Hardline.
I had everything on a platter, and you fucked it up.
Partner, she's in trouble. That means we help her.
You have the right to remain silent.
It was not too long ago when we first started working on this game. It was like, hey, what do you think of Battlefield? And we just started kind of going off on the idea.
I'd played I don't know, hundreds of hours of Battlefield, and it was my #1 fun game. But the kind of games that we had made were a whole different sort of world from that.
Visceral's not completely new to the Battlefield franchise. For example, we worked on expansion pack 5 for Battlefield 3, known as Endgame. And DICE has been invaluable in helping us understand what a Battlefield game is.
DICE has done crazy great work with 3 and 4 and building up the modern military lately. And it kind of felt like, well, if we're gonna do something, let's do something a little different with it.
It was just really exciting to think that we could be a game in the Battlefield universe, really retain the great rock, paper, scissors gameplay, but then really take it a different direction with the theme being cops and criminals.
Hands up, now!
Battlefield means a lot of different things to many different people. But that's one of the reasons why we're working so hard to understand what you think Battlefield is and what it should be.
The rescue mode, that was the game mode where I felt like I was a cop, you know, the most.
It's pretty hard to get a kill with the sniper because it's not one shot, but if you make it one shot, it's going to be overpowered at some point. You need to find a balance to that, I guess.
One thing I noticed was changing the scope alone changed the recoil on weapons, which was weird. Like using a red dot, I felt there was more recoil as opposed to one of the new optic sights, which brought the scope closer to your eye. I felt like there was much less recoil. So I think if you guys could look over those balancing issues with all the weapons.
So David, I wanted to show you what it looked like when we completely removed the recoil animation and it was purely the weapon mechanics. When we slide this all the way down to 0, it just looks terrible. It doesn't look like you're really shooting a weapon.
Yeah. I
mean, you're still getting the muzzle climb and the muzzle flip, but you're not
moving.
Yeah. But if we blend it back in, now we've already removed the side to side from the rear sight, so it actually looks significantly better now. You can see that feels like shooting a real weapon.
Yeah, it looks much better. You can see the gun actually moving back and forth.
Right, and it's easier to observe your shots and to predict where they're going to go because the sight's not moving around. We've made all these changes based on your feedback. Now, as you know, we've got a beta that's coming up soon, and we highly encourage you to try it out and see if the game is for you.
And this next beta is really big because it's open for everybody, and so we'll get to hear what all the different players have to say.
This is a long-standing relationship, and people place their trust in us and we place their trust in them. So the beta is the start of that process.
I'm in a Snuggie when I'm gaming. I got the snug on.
Right.
You gotta get into the feel of what it's gonna be like out in the wild. You gotta snug up.
Right.
So I got the snug.
This season on Hardline.
We all know the Battlefield experience, we all love it, and we wanted to add our own touch to it, and that's the cops and criminals fantasy.
I think hardcore Battlefield fans are going to like the change of pace. We had the opportunity to speed up the multiplayer and slow down the single player and add a visceral stamp to it.
Hardline includes a lot of traditional Battlefield modes like Conquest and Team Deathmatch, but also we added 5 new game modes that all talk to the theme of cops and criminals. We iterated through a lot of different modes. We did a lot of different play testing. We play test our game every day.
I think they're gonna try a zip line from the roof, but we can cover it if we stay on this street.
I got that angle covered.
They're coming up here.
Price is down, price is down.
Oh, I'm down.
They had an extra player. Wasn't fair.
This is something different for the Battlefield franchise. I think it's going to add a new energy in a way that's going to surprise a lot of people.
We did that with a lot of the modes that we added in, like Heist and Rescue and Crosshair. And we did that with a lot of the gadgets we added in too.
Using grappling hooks and using zip lines to move around the space really quickly is one of my favorite things.
The zip line or the grapple hook really help us get around the map more. They help us get around the map faster. That adds to the gameplay, especially in maps like Downtown where you have a bunch of different heights and you want to get between them very quickly.
Building up spaces with lots of interesting opportunities for the player to move around and navigate and to find new ways to play and to leverage the new mechanics that we've been adding. So this is the projects area where we spend a lot of time teaching the player the mechanics of the game. You do your big stakeout right out here. It's your first opportunity to really use the scanner. What it allows the player to do is get up to a high vantage point and look around and tag enemies and zoom in on them, get an idea of what their position is, and even eavesdrop on them.
Dyson's through there. You got 5 minutes. All I need.
In Hardline, there's always a strategic choice in any mode that you're playing.
You're less inclined to run into a space and just start shooting. We've balanced the game to make it much more non-lethal.
This area up here is where we teach distraction. It's not necessarily a weapon, so you don't get a targeting reticle, so we have to do a lot of things to teach them where the actual distraction shell casing is going to go.
Nice.
These are the spawners for the guys, and this is a process that took a long time, figuring out exactly where your partner Kai would position herself so that the player knew to move forwards and exactly where to stand to separate and take down using the distract.
These really add to the fantasy of Hardline. They give a much more fight on the streets feeling to everything that's going on. And they also add to the strategy of the game because, again, using some of these non-lethal weapons can get you information that you couldn't have gotten otherwise.
It was an opportunity for us to move away from the shooting gallery that a lot of modern shooters have become and give players an opportunity to slow down and think about how they're going to approach a scenario.
You're going to be doing a lot of stuff in Hardline that you haven't done in Battlefield before, but I think it's going to be super cool and super fun, and it's going to feel a bit more street. It's going to feel a bit more downtown urban, but it's still going to feel Battlefield. Zach Wilson eats babies.
So Ben said I like to eat babies. That's hilarious because Ben looks like a giant baby.
A big focus for us on Hardline was bringing speed to the game.
Visceral thought of every way possible to make the game feel faster, from the vehicles to the maps to the modes, all the way to the sounds.
We wanted Hardline to sound as big and as bad and as fast as it possibly could.
In past Battlefield games, you would have people sniping each other from objectives, but because we have all these big buildings and big obstacles in the way, that's harder to do in our game.
When driving the sound of the guns forward for Hardline, we took it upon ourselves to arrange a bunch of different recording sessions. And the biggest one was down at Warner Brothers Studios in Burbank, where we recorded blank firing weapons in all kinds of different environments. We had city streets built from their sets. We had an entire day with just weapons inside of an ADR sound studio. Ran all the actions manually so that when you hear a bolt open and close in Hardline, it's as close to the real thing as we can possibly get. Battlefield weapon audio has always relied on granular components. This would be the blast off of the 5.56 caliber rifle. Here we have the gunshot sort of blooming in its environment. This is the reflections off of the glass that we recorded down in Burbank. When you're pulling the trigger, you're also going to get the recordings of the bolt opening and closing. And when you let it go, you'll even hear the spring inside of the receiver extension buzzing. And so the sum total effect in an open downtown area would be something like this. And then if I'm going to come back down here into a tighter, more concrete, surrounded area, it's going to sound different. Same thing if I'm hiding in a doorway. If I come all the way in this stairwell. The way we're painting in these environments make Battlefield Hardline sound unique.
Sound really is an intricate part of immersion in the driving experience in Battlefield, especially in a Hardline and some of our faster cars. When you put the nitrous on, you hear those flames coming out of the tailpipes.
We were really fortunate in Hardline to get a piece of tech that Need for Speed has been using for a while called Ginsu. And it's a different way of making car engine audio.
It really makes you feel like you're behind the wheel. That was really the genesis of vehicle design on Hardline, was figuring out how we take what already exists, what players embrace and love about Battlefield, and take it into our own space.
Working on a game in the Battlefield franchise, there's obviously a lot of expectations from the fans, especially when we're going in a new direction. It's sort of a new flavor.
The cool thing about Cops and Criminals is that every kid grows up wanting to drive that fast muscle car. You want to drive around town with the lights on, the sirens on.
When you're playing it, you feel like you're playing a Battlefield game. You just feel like you're playing a different style of Battlefield game, a much faster Battlefield game.
And we really think that the sound that we've defined for this game will set us apart from previous iterations of Battlefield and give us a flavor and a sound and a speed all of our own.
Rolling, speed, action, adventure, Battlefield Hardline. Buy it now.
One clap for us.
I think with the beta, we went out there expecting surprises, and that's part of the beta experience, is trying to understand what the reaction is going to be from fans, what kind of stuff players can find in the game, and ultimately help us to fix, to make the game better come March 17th.
It's been great to see validation of a lot of the changes we've made.
I think the game's really, really tight right now. One of my favorite moments was we were playing Heist on Bank Job, and we were breaching out the back of the bank, and the cops had just set up this amazing ambush, and we were just like, whoa, but it was so awesome to see that kind of teamwork. Was very unique.
Having the first beta was kind of our big, here's Hardline, the announce behind the game, and us going out to say, hey, we're making this Battlefield Cops and Criminals game. But it also gave us an opportunity to look at the game we were making and to evaluate what kind of changes we wanted to make.
Based on player feedback, we're addressing some of the weapons that were felt to be overpowered. A few of the assault rifles are going to actually get more recoil, and a few of the starting weapons are going to be more user-friendly for someone who's first jumping into the game.
For me, one of the most exciting things about making a multiplayer game is iteration. The idea that you're going to make something, and then you're going to play it, and you're going to get feedback.
We're putting this game out to so many players worldwide, and to have the opportunity to get their feedback on how to improve the game and how to make this so much better, it gives us the ability to, 6 weeks before launch, actually take a look at what we want to change, make those last-minute change and polish items.
Some of the things that I like about the game are the attention to detail, the gear, the weapons. You look at all the different weapon models, and you can tell they've done their homework, they added new optics to the game. That is really cool.
I find myself not wanting to play Conquest as much as I do the other game modes like Heist and Hotwire, because you get more sense of satisfaction out of the game modes.
What players like most about Hotwire is the speed. First of all, getting to be able to steal cars, having the ability to drive those across the maps at high speeds, to T-bone people, to get into crazy car accidents, to create all kinds of shenanigans.
Yes, Brian.
There's another. Come on, move. Come on, move.
Oh, Eddie got hit by a chopper.
All right. Did we just become best friends, Evan?
Yup.
This isn't something you'll usually see in Battlefield 4, for example. You see a Jeep, it may have 2 or 3 guys in it. But in Hotwire, you'll commonly see a full sedan packed with 4 dudes. And they're all doing something useful, whether it's driving to the next objective, one guy's repairing the car, and others returning fire at the car chasing them. It's a really interesting and different team dynamic.
Got a suspect.
Battlelog is a great first stop for your feedback. Make sure if you tell us that you love something or you hate something, tell us why. That's the most important bit of your feedback.
I had a great time playing the Battlefield beta as well as during the preview events. I think this game is going to shape up to be awesome on launch day.
Thumbs up. Well done, Visceral. You got me off guard on this one, but in a good way.